Kristy Ransdell. I'm going to show you fabric selection, cutting, and pinning for stack and whack blocks. First thing I do is I square off my fabric off the top so I have a straight line. Find a place where you can find your repeat. Right here is where I'm going to start, and you can see my repeat is right here. I've measured it, it's 11.5 inches, a relatively small repeat. I'm going to be cutting this right here at the tip of the star, all 6 repeats. We're doing a 6 repeat block for stack and whack kaleidoscope. What I'm going to do is take this piece of fabric down and I'm going to cut it directly down the center. I'm going to keep the left side and I'm going to put the right side aside. I've taken my fabric down off my wall. I folded it in half and now I'm folding it again and again so it's easier for me to cut the center line. I'm going to go ahead and just cut this with my rotary cutter. It doesn't have to be extremely accurate, but I do need to cut the 2 pieces apart. So we're just going to get in here and give it a good cut across. Now you should have 2 pieces, a left side and a right side. It really doesn't matter which one you choose to work with, but do them separately. So we're going to put one aside and not get it confused with the other. Now is when I'm going to start cutting my repeats apart. Accuracy is going to be helpful here. You're going to want to pay attention to where your repeat is and try to cut that same spot all the way across. I'm going to line it up here so it's squared up. Here we go. Here's my point right here, the same as it is there. And I'm going to cut as close as I can to that point, as accurately as I can to that point. Here's my first repeat. You want to do this 6 times. We're ready? Now that I've cut my 6 pieces, I'm going to go ahead and line them up as best I can. So I'm going to line my stars up right there. Try to find the same spot on each piece and line it up in the same spot. Because once we get all of these stacked, we're going to start pinning them, all 6 pieces together. This is a 6-piece kaleidoscope. So we need them all stacked on top of each other as close to the same spot as we can get. And that looks perfect. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab 1 pin at a time and I'm going to find the same exact spot and pin straight through every single layer. So in this case, I'm going to grab this spot right here. When I get these all pinned together, I'm going to have to trim this edge to make everything exactly square. It'd probably be better to go down to the very next spot and pin in this direction. That way when I'm cutting my fabric, I don't have to remove my pin. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go in right there. We're going to take the next piece and we're going to go in the same exact spot. We're going to take the next piece. We're going to go into the same exact spot. Next piece, same exact spot. And of course all through all 6 layers of fabric. This is a really important step in doing kaleidoscope stack and whack. You want accuracy here. It's worth the work to do it right. It does take a lot of time. It's a tedious job, but it's worth it in the beginning. There's a lot of work in the beginning, but when you get it all done, your accuracy is really spot on. It's worth it. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to pin all the way across. Once I get my top row pinned up here, I'm going to just pick my fabric up and keep pinning along. It takes a long while to do this, so pin across and across and across. If that doesn't work for you, you can pin in this direction, whichever is more comfortable for you. Go ahead and sit down and pay attention and just keep pinning all the way through the same exact spot till you've got, roughly pin in areas this far apart from each other. Stagger your pins so that they don't end up in the same spot. So when you're cutting out your triangles, if you have to remove a pin, your fabric isn't going to move out of shape for you. So that you have a staggered pins, you can leave one in if you need to remove one. And then I'll show you how to cut once I get everything pinned. Now that I've pinned through all 6 layers and I've pinned in random spots so that I've made all of my fabric stabilized and together, I want to have a straight line to work from. I'm going to go ahead and trim, and I'm going to be really careful to not move my fabric. I want the same line through all 6 layers, and I don't want to hit any pins as I'm going through. I have a straight line, and the block size that I'm going to be using with my 60-degree ruler is 5 1/4. So what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to cut a strip that is 5 1/4 inch long so that I can get my triangles from a 5 1/4 inch strip. In order to cut my 5 1/4 inch strip, I have 5 1/4. I have to move some of my pins because they're in the way and I don't want to hit them with my rotary cutter. So I'm going to go ahead and remove these pins so that they're out of my way and I don't nick my blade with them. This one I can bend up, as you can see. These 2 have to be removed. So I'm going to go ahead and remove these 2 pins so I don't hit them with my cutter. Then I'm going to realign my ruler for my 5 1/4 inch, and I'm going to cut straight across. And there's my first 5 1/4 inch strip. We'll go ahead and set this one aside for a moment. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I'm starting in a spot where all of my pieces line up. Because when I cut, I don't want to end up with a piece that's too short. It'll make it unusable for me. And what I can see is I have a pin in my way. I'm going to make sure that I pull that pin out of my way so that I don't hit it with my blade. And I want 5 1/4. When I'm cutting my triangles, and I can move this one over almost to the edge here, I want the tip of my 60-degree clear view triangle even with the top of the fabric. And this pin can be moved, in fact, removed out of the way. And I'm going to very carefully cut up and down. This is my first block. You've got 3 options here. When you're arranging your block, you can turn it 3 different ways to discover what pattern you like best. So we can use it this way. You can turn it one more time and put it this way. Or you can turn it one more time and put it this way. You've got 3 options of how you can create your kaleidoscope. I like to cut them all out, put them up on my wall, and then pick and choose which one I like best to put in my quilt. And that's how we pin and cut for a stack and whack block.